Listen, most guys completely misread the signs. They think she's being cold. They think she's playing games. They think she's not interested. But what if I told you that some of the behaviors you're interpreting as rejection are actually signs of deep investment? In fact, there's one specific behavior that 97% of men think means she's done with them. But it's actually the strongest sign she's falling hard. I'll reveal what that is in just a moment. But first, you need to understand why you've been reading her all wrong. Because when you understand this, you stop second guessing yourself. You stop chasing validation and you start recognizing when you've already won her over. This isn't about wishful thinking. This is about reading the real signals most men completely miss. And by the end of this video, you'll discover the one thing she does that seems like the ultimate rejection, but is actually her way of saying, I'm terrified of how much I like you. So, let's dive into the truth. Most dating advice never tells you the painful confusion when her actions don't match her words. Picture this. She takes hours to text back. She doesn't always say yes when you ask her out. She acts casual when you're together, almost too casual. And in your head, the story starts writing itself. She's not that into me. I'm wasting my time. Maybe I should just move on. But here's where it gets interesting. And this might sound crazy at first. The woman who truly doesn't care about you will never make you feel confused. She'll make you feel nothing. She'll just vanish. But the woman who's making you anxious, the one keeping you up at night wondering where you stand, there's something else happening there. Here's what you need to understand. Women don't operate on the same fear timeline that men do. When a man is interested, he pursues. When a woman is interested, especially deeply interested, she protects herself. Why? Because investment creates vulnerability, and vulnerability feels dangerous. The more she likes you, the more she has to lose. So her instinct isn't always to move closer. Sometimes it's to create distance, to test if you're real, to see if you'll stay consistent even when she's not making it easy. This is where most men fail. They misread protection as rejection. They interpret her walls as disinterest, and they walk away right when she's starting to let them in. Now, I know what you're thinking. How am I supposed to know the difference? How do I know if she's invested or just stringing me along? That's exactly what I'm about to show you. And one of these signs is so counterintuitive, you'll probably think I'm lying. But stay with me because once you see it, everything will make sense. The real signs she's deeply invested. Before we go deeper, do me a favor. Hit that like button if this is making sense so far, because what I'm about to reveal next will completely flip everything you thought you knew about female psychology. And trust me, sign number 4 sounds absolutely insane, but it's backed by behavioral psychology. And once you understand it, you'll never misread a woman again. Let's keep going. First sign, she remembers everything you say. Not just the big stuff, the small details, that thing you mentioned about your childhood, your favorite food, the name of your coworker you complained about once. When a woman is invested, she listens with intention. Your words matter to her, and she files them away because she's building a map of who you are. If she's bringing up things you said weeks ago, that's not coincidence. That's investment. But here's what's wild. Most men ignore this sign completely because they think remembering details is just what women do. Wrong. She doesn't do this for every guy, only the ones who occupy real estate in her mind. Second sign, she tests you often. She'll say she's busy when you know she's not. She'll act like she doesn't care if you're talking to other women. She'll throw little challenges your way to see how you respond. Now, this one triggers most guys. They think, why would someone who likes me test me? That's toxic. But here's the truth. She needs to know if you're solid, if you'll stay calm under pressure, if you're just chasing the idea of her, or if you actually see her. A woman who doesn't care doesn't test. She just disappears. And the intensity of her tests, that's directly proportional to how much she's starting to feel for you. The harder the test, the deeper her investment, which brings us to something most men never consider. Third sign, her friends know about you, even if she acts casual around you. If her inner circle knows your name, your job, your story, she's been talking about you. Women don't waste conversation on men they're not thinking about. If you've been mentioned, dissected, and analyzed by her friends, you're already deeper in her world than you realize. But here's the kicker. If her friends are suddenly cold to you or giving you attitude, that might actually be a good sign. It means she's told them she likes you and they're protecting her. Stay tuned because I'll explain why this matters in a way you've never heard before. Fourth sign, she gets emotional around you, even indirectly. Maybe she snaps at something small. Maybe she seems hurt when you don't text back quickly. Maybe there's an edge to her tone when you mention other women. Now, here's where it gets controversial, and you might not believe this at first. Emotion means investment. Indifference is silent. Anger, jealousy, even frustration, those are signs she's affected by you. But there's one specific emotional reaction that 99% of men interpret as the ultimate rejection. And it's actually the strongest sign. She's falling for you. I'll tell you what it is in just a second. But first, you need to understand sign number 5 because it sets up why that reaction happens. Fifth sign, she opens up, then closes again. One night she tells you something vulnerable. The next day she's distant. She lets you in, then pulls back. This isn't games. This is fear. She's revealing herself and then retreating to see if you'll judge her, if you'll use it against her, if you'll stay. When a woman does this, she's giving you pieces of her truth while protecting her heart. That's deep investment wrapped in self-preservation. And here's what most guys don't realize. The bigger the pullback after she opens up, the more she revealed than she meant to. She's scared she showed you too much. That vulnerability hangover, it's proof she cares. Sixth sign, she watches your life closely. She knows when you post. She notices when you don't. She asks subtle questions about where you were or who you were with. She's tracking you because you matter. Her attention is focused on you, even when she's pretending it's not. But here's something that'll blow your mind. If she suddenly stops watching your stories or liking your posts, don't panic. That might actually mean she's in deeper than ever. I'll explain why in a moment. And now the sign everyone gets wrong. The seventh sign, she goes completely cold after getting close. This is the big one, the one that makes men give up and walk away. You had an amazing date, deep conversation, real connection. Maybe something physical happened, and then radio silence or worse, she becomes distant and acts like nothing happened. Every guy thinks she regrets it. She's not interested. I messed up. But here's the psychological truth that changes everything. When a woman goes cold after intimacy, whether emotional or physical, it's often because the experience felt too real, too intense, too much like something that could actually hurt her. If it doesn't work out, she's not running from you. She's running from her own feelings. The stronger the connection, the harder the retreat, because now you're not just some guy. You're someone who could actually matter, someone who could break her heart, and that's terrifying. So she creates distance to regain control, to see if the feeling fades, to test if you'll chase desperately or stay grounded. This is the moment most men fail. They either chase harder, which confirms her fear that they're not solid, or they disappear completely, which confirms her fear that it wasn't real. The eighth sign, and this one ties everything together. She stays consistent over time. Even with the push and pull, she doesn't disappear. She's still there, still responding, still showing up in some form. Because a woman who's done just vanishes. A woman who's invested finds reasons to stay connected even when it's complicated. If she's still in your orbit after weeks or months of mixed signals, that's not confusion. That's investment fighting with fear. And here's the pattern that reveals everything. Does she pull back but then reach out again? Does she go cold but then warm up when you give her space? Does she test you but then soften when you pass? That's the cycle of a woman falling for someone and trying not to. What to do when you recognize these signs? Now, I know what you're thinking. This is great, but what do I actually do with this information? Because understanding the signs is only half the battle. The real question is, how do you respond in a way that makes her feel safe enough to stop fighting her feelings? And this is where most men screw it up completely. They do the exact opposite of what actually works. So here's the counterintuitive truth. First, stay consistent. Don't match her push and pull. Be the steady force she can rely on. Show her that her walls don't scare you and her tests don't shake you. But here's the part nobody tells you. Consistency doesn't mean being available 247s. It means being predictably solid. Same energy, same vibe, whether she's warm or cold. Second, give her space to feel safe. Don't pressure her to define things too quickly. Let the connection deepen naturally. Security is built through time and consistency, not force. And here's the mistake guys make. They think giving space means disappearing. No, it means not being emotionally needy, not requiring constant validation, being comfortable with silence. Third, don't take her moments of distance personally. She's not rejecting you. She's processing her own emotions. Give her room to come back to you. Because here's what happens when you stay calm during her withdrawal. You become the first man who didn't punish her for having walls, the first man who didn't make her fear a cost. And that's when she starts to trust that you're different. Fourth, keep building your own life. The most attractive thing you can do is be a man who's fulfilled with or without her. Your life can't revolve around decoding her signals. It has to revolve around becoming better every day. This is the paradox that makes everything work. The less you need her validation, the more she wants to give it. And here's the truth most men need to hear. When you stop needing her validation and start trusting your own value, everything shifts. You're no longer anxious about mixed signals. You're no longer confused by her behavior because you know your worth isn't dependent on how she acts on any given day. That confidence, that groundedness, that's what makes her feel safe enough to finally let her guard down. The bottom line, if she's showing these signs, she's invested. Maybe more than she wants to be, maybe more than she's ready to admit. Your job isn't to force her hand. It's to be the kind of man worth investing in, consistent, confident, unbothered by the noise. Because when you operate from that place, you're not trying to win her over. You're simply being someone she can't help but be drawn to. And that's when everything changes. The woman who's been testing you stops testing. The woman who's been pulling away starts leaning in. The woman who's been guarding her heart starts letting you see it. Not because you convinced her, but because you made her feel something she's probably never felt before, safe enough to be vulnerable without fear of it being used against her. That's the real secret, and now you know it. If this resonated with you, drop a comment with the word invested so I know you're paying attention, and hit that subscribe button because we're just getting started with the psychology that actually works.